During the Great Depression, theft was not a hypothetical risk. It was a daily concern driven by unemployment, displacement, and desperation. Families who still possessed jewelry, wedding rings, heirloom watches, or small gold items understood something very clearly. Banks failed, safes attracted attention, and obvious hiding places invited loss. What survived did so because people used the most overlooked objects in the home as concealment tools. These methods were quiet, practical, and grounded in an understanding of human behavior that still applies today. Kitchen spaces became some of the safest places to hide valuables. Food storage was sacred during the Great Depression, and thieves rarely lingered in kitchens longer than necessary. Families hid jewelry inside flour sacks by stitching small cloth pockets into the inner seams, knowing that flour was handled carefully and rarely dumped out. Others placed rings inside jars of rice, beans, or lard crocks, sealing them beneath layers that looked untouched. Coffee tins were another favorite, especially when mixed with used grounds that no one wanted to dig through. The lesson here is not about the object itself, but about hiding valuables inside items associated with routine, necessity, and low resale value. Today, this principle applies just as well with pantry items that appear boring, messy, or inconvenient to inspect. Furniture was modified in ways that left no visible trace. Great Depression households did not buy new furniture. They repaired and reused what they had. That familiarity made subtle modifications invisible. Jewelry was taped to the underside of table drawers, sewn into the fabric beneath chair seats, or slipped into hollowed-out sections of bed frames. Some families removed a single floorboard under heavy furniture, placing valuables beneath it so nothing appeared disturbed. What made this effective was not clever carpentry, but really restraint. Only one location was used, and it was never shared beyond immediate family. Modern application follows the same rule. Concealment works best when it blends into long-term wear and, honestly, never requires frequent access. Laundry and sewing supplies provided concealment through normal wear. Clothing was mended repeatedly during the Great Depression, and sewing kits were common in every home. Women often stitched rings or thin chains into the hems of dresses, coats, or work pants, knowing those garments would be worn daily and, well, never stolen outright. Jewelry was also hidden inside button tins, thread spools, or fabric scraps stored in sewing boxes that appeared chaotic and low value. This approach relied on the idea that sometimes disorder can be protective. A thief looking for something valuable avoids places that require time, patience, and close inspection. Today, survivalists can apply this by embedding valuables into items that are already worn, repaired, or considered expendable. So, bathroom items were used because, honestly, they repelled attention. Toiletries were deeply personal, and during the Great Depression, they really didn't hold much appeal to thieves. Families, hid jewelry inside empty toothpaste tubes that were resealed with wax or tucked valuables within soap bars that were carefully split and pressed back together. Sometimes they'd even use medicine bottles labeled with unpleasant contents. Chamber pots and cleaning buckets were also used, with valuables sealed in waterproof containers and placed beneath layers of grime. These methods worked basically because they exploited discomfort and disgust. Even today, areas associated with hygiene or waste are still, for the most part, some of the least searched locations during hurried thefts. Heating and utility areas, became trusted hiding zones during tough times. Coal bins, wood stoves, and ash buckets were just common features in Depression-era homes. People would wrap their jewelry tightly, place it inside metal tins, and then bury those tins beneath coal or ashes, where everything blended in just perfectly. Some families, interestingly enough, hid valuables inside unused stovepipe sections or behind removable bricks near fireplaces. These spots worked well because they were dirty, heavy, and honestly pretty inconvenient to get to in a hurry. The practical takeaway here is that concealment really improves when getting to the hiding place requires effort, tools, or, a messy cleanup. A spot that even discourages the owner from casual access is far less likely to be discovered by anyone else. Children's items were deliberately used to deflect suspicion. Toys, school supplies, and children's books were rarely touched by thieves who assumed they held no value. Families hid jewelry inside hollowed-out wooden toys, beneath false bottoms and crayon boxes, or between the pages of school notebooks filled with arithmetic or spelling exercises. This method relied on social assumptions about worth. Items associated with childhood were seen as, worthless clutter. In modern terms, this translates to hiding valuables within objects that signal dependency, routine learning, or emotional attachment rather than wealth. What made these methods effective was discipline, not cleverness. Great Depression families succeeded because they did not overcomplicate their systems. They chose one or two locations, avoided patterns, and never revisited the hiding place unnecessarily. They also avoided telling extended family or neighbors, even in moments of stress. So, for today's survival-minded individuals, the application is actually pretty straightforward. You want to choose hiding places based on human behavior, not just novelty. Try to avoid anything that looks secure or intentional. Instead, favor items that are boring, inconvenient, or honestly just unpleasant to search. And most importantly, treat concealment as a long-term strategy, not just a temporary trick. Why this knowledge still matters for modern survival planning. Economic instability, natural disasters, and infrastructure failures all create moments when access to banks, digital accounts, or secure storage disappears. The Great Depression offers proven examples of how ordinary people protected small but critical assets using nothing but discipline and household awareness. These methods require no technology, no special equipment, and no outside trust. They are quiet, resilient, and adaptable to almost any living situation today. If this kind of grounded, practical history is valuable to you, subscribe to Battlefield of Survival, share this guide with others who care about real-world preparedness, and keep these lessons alive by applying them thoughtfully rather than admiring them from a distance.